Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. I am your host, Eric Dwinnells. With me tonight, returning once again, Fatima Elmi.
Hi.
Now, Fatima, you were here for the 100th episode.
I was, yes.
But all you said was hello and goodbye.
Yes, that's true.
Now, we did have a little mic issue that night in that we didn't have enough mics to go around.
Right.
And you just said, well, just leave me out then.
Well, I didn't want to cause any issues, so I was just there as a spectator.
Uh-huh.
That's
Moral
it.
support.
Yes.
Well, tonight you're expected to pull your weight.
Oh, boy.
Because there's no one else here. It's just you and I.
Okay.
Talking into these mics. Speaking of, this episode is very late in coming out. About a week late, actually. A little over a week late. Because this was supposed to be for Friday the 13th, which was actually last Friday. More than a week ago now.
Yeah.
So, the reason that is because when we went to record, we noticed that the microphone was not working. And it turned out just to be the cord, so that's no big deal. But of course, it's slightly a big deal because I still have a hard time getting around with my broken ankle.
That's right.
So it took us a while to be able to get out to the store to get a new cable. I could have ordered on Amazon or something, but then, I'd have to go and get the guy at the door, and they wait about 2 seconds before they leave. And then I would have just had this thing saying pick it up at the post office, which would have been a whole nother nightmare. So I said, well, just wait, and I'll go to Guitar Center. So anyway, that episode is happening now.
Okay.
Even though it's a little bit late.
Right.
On Friday the 13th, we watched Friday the 13th. Part 3. Yeah.
Right.
Now, I have said for a long time that Friday the 13th Part 3 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I will defend that statement somewhat, but upon further review, it's maybe not my favorite Friday the 13th movie. But there's a lot of things that I like about, and that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. We're not really doing a review of the film. We're not really doing a recap or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just picked out certain things that I want people to pay attention to next time they watch the film. Some of them are very obvious. Some of them are just kind of fun little things. But we went a little crazy and had a little Friday the 13th marathon.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen all of them. I've seen all of them over the years, but in one sitting or anything, I haven't seen all of them. But there's definitely some crazier shit that happens in later movies. So Part 3 isn't the craziest. It's not the goriest.
Right.
It's not the scariest. But there's a lot of nice little touches, which we'll get into. Before we get into all that, I want to remind everyone to check out the website, spookyasshit.com or spookyas.com. They both take you to the same place, and that is the show's blog page. There you can listen to each and every episode. You can find sometimes outtakes, YouTube videos, pictures, all kinds of things associated with each episode there. You can also find links to our social media. We are at Spooky Ass Shit on Facebook. Nope, let me try that again. We are at Spooky Ass Shit on both Instagram and Twitter. And on Facebook, you can like us at facebook.com/spookyas. Now then, with that out of the way.
Yes.
Let's get into it. Now, we could have watched the original Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one problem with it. Spoiler alert, by the way. If you haven't seen some of these movies, I'm assuming that if you listen to this show, you've probably, especially this episode, you've probably seen the Friday the 13th movies. But, spoiler alert, Jason isn't really in the first one.
Right.
He is, at the very end as a kid. He pops up.
Mm-hmm.
But Jason is definitely older in Part 2, but in Part 1, he might have just been a dream, so maybe that doesn't really count.
Right.
But here's what I really wanted to get to.
Okay.
In Part 2, Part 3 is definitely supposed to happen the next day.
Right. Okay.
But this part is definitely true. Part 2 and Part 3 are definitely supposed to happen right after each other.
Okay.
Now, Jason's look changes dramatically between part 2 and part 3.
Mm-hmm.
In part 2, first of all, he doesn't have the hockey mask yet. He's got the burlap sack
That's right.
over his face. And then when he has his mask removed, he looks kind of monsterish, I guess. And then he's got long red hair.
Yes.
But then, this next one's supposed to take place the next day. The hair's all gone. So he went to Supercuts.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got a haircut.
In between.
No big deal.
Yeah. His face actually looks similar. Like, there's definitely differences. But at least it's kind of that, like, piggish look that he has.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it more into the look of Jason in just a minute. But one of the interesting things about part 3 is that actually it was in keeping with the model that it was supposed to be like a direct sequel to part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the character Ginny Field was supposed to reappear. She was the sole survivor from the second movie.
Okay, right.
She was supposed to be the heroine of the third movie as well. And they were going to do kind of a Halloween 2 kind of thing where she's in the hospital. A mental hospital, I believe, this time.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason was stalking her there and like killing other patients and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen because Amy Steele, the actress who played Ginny, wouldn't come back for the movie.
Okay.
She just had other project going on. She decided to move on.
I see.
But I'm kind of glad that didn't happen because we already have Halloween 2. That's one thing these movies, slasher films became big business in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are ripping each other off, and a lot of them are ripping themselves off.
Yeah.
There's a lot about part 2 that's just like part 3. And there's a lot about part 4 that's just like part 3.
Yeah.
So it's little differences. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But, so beginning with part 3 now, officially.
You're going to have to refresh my memory, honestly. Oh, yes, it was 3D. Okay. All right. I remember that.
Well, it starts off gloriously with the, like, disco version of the Friday the 13th theme.
Yeah.
Now, this movie came out in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
I was not around to know whether disco was still a thing or not, but I would imagine that it was heavily on its way out if it wasn't already completely dead by then.
I mean, it was still around, but it wasn't as big as it was in the late 70s.
Like, not enough that they would be like, hey, you know what we need to do to really get this movie popping? We gotta, like, disco up this theme. Maybe they didn't intentionally do disco. Maybe it was just supposed to be, like, the sound of the day, but
right.
Definitely sounds like disco to me. But I kind of like it, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good groove.
Yeah. I can get down with it.
Yeah. Now, this movie was presented in 3D originally. And the reason for that was because, as I said, slasher films became big business after the release of Halloween, the original Halloween, and then Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bunch of like low-budget movies coming out in this style.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, well, we've got to do something to make this movie different.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, 3D.
Right.
Now we don't think twice about 3D. 3D is back.
Right.
Even though the 3D of today is kind of different than the 3D of yesteryear.
Mm-hmm.
The 3D of today just kind of makes everything like there's more depth to it.
Right.
But most of the time it's not really about making things look like they're flying at you and coming out over your head and stuff.
Yeah.
But originally that's what 3D was.
Right.
And that's what it was in this film too.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I never got to see it in 3D in a theater, which I presume is how you were supposed to enjoy it.
Right.
I do have a copy of the 3D version of the DVD. They made a deluxe 3D version, but it's shitty. You have to wear those blue and red glasses,
right?
Which they were kind enough to include with the DVD, but still, it's not a great viewing experience. So I would imagine, hopefully in the theater, it was better.
I hope so. It was funny to watch it without the 3D.
Well, was going to be what I was going to say. Is that they, even though obviously you don't watch it in 3D now, they still leave in the 3D scenes. And if you don't know that it was supposed to be in 3D, it must seem really weird that they're spending a long time watching people juggle and like having it come up at the camera and like making popcorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a scene where like the guy's like holding a pole and he's trying to like get something just right and he's just like pointing the pole at the camera.
Yeah. For a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and of course the yo-yo.
Oh, yeah.
The yo-yo that comes out at you. So when you watch it, you have to kind of imagine these things coming out at you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the man playing Jason in this film is an Englishman,
Okay.
and his name is Richard Brooker.
Mm-hmm.
He was a former trapeze artist.
Really?
So although he was very tall, he was kind of a skinny guy. He was probably like cut or whatever, but just not like a big,
Right. Muscular
muscular
dude.
guy.
Yeah.
So they padded him up for this movie,
Mm-hmm.
which you can kind of tell because his shape just isn't right around the shoulders and neck region.
Mm-hmm.
Jason just looks a little funny, which kind of works for Jason anyway. It's not a big deal, but
Yeah.
I did always notice that. I was like, his shirt doesn't fit him right. Like the neck is too far back.
Yeah.
Like something's just not right. And I think that's probably why. Probably because he's wearing this mask and then he's got padding underneath and this. So that's probably why his clothes are hanging on him funny, but I don't know. I don't mean to fashion critique.
I know. I was just going to say, fashion police. Watch
Jason,
out.
just saying.
Jeez.
Well, they did change his look in future installments, and he has better fitting clothing.
Right.
In
And
the
he's
future,
more
so I'm just saying.
muscular.
Yeah. Well,
He's more built.
yeah. So, but I do, I don't want to go too far into the comparisons of Jason, but, up until Kane Hodder took over the role in Part 7, Jason was played by a different person.
Each time?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they all kind of had their own things. In this one, Jason runs, for one thing, which is definitely something he doesn't do in the later movies.
Yeah.
This Jason is, he's kind of more like pig-like, I'd say, face-wise.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of looks like a half-man, half-pig kind of face.
Yeah.
With a
It's
droopy
definitely
eye.
distorted.
Yeah. And he runs. And speaking of Jason's clothes, I always wonder where he gets it from.
His clothes?
Yeah, because he's supposed to be... Well, it's not just his clothes, but like in Part 2, you see his shack that he lives in
Yeah.
with his little shrine to his mom and everything.
Right.
And then also in Part 2, he goes to like Alice's house and kills her. And it's just, it's like, how does he know how to do this? And then the same thing with his clothes. Like, how does he have like this nice green shirt that he's wearing?
Maybe he stole it from a camper or someone he killed in the woods.
I guess so, but it's just coincidence, especially if he's a bigger guy.
Yeah, he's picking it up.
Maybe that's
along
why
the
his
way.
shirt doesn't fit right.
Right, because he didn't originally buy it for himself.
There you go. There you go, movie. I just helped you out. Yeah, it's too bad he lost those overalls from Part 2. So in Part 2,
I don't like that one.
That actually really scared you. His look in Part 2.
Yeah, I did
Legit.
not like the overalls. I did not like the white mask.
He wears a
covering.
burlap sack over his head with one eye hole.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it.
You find that scarier than the hockey mask?
I do.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It just weirded me out. It was creepy. No?
Yeah. No, it was, but the reason they didn't continue, so they say, with the burlap sack is because the Elephant Man had come out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also wearing burlap over his head with one eye hole.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't want to,
Yeah.
be thought of as taking that. But as I pointed out to you, there's a different movie, which you should check out, called The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which is based on true events, which we'll probably cover on a future episode of Spooky AS, of the Phantom Killer, or the Texarkana
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah.
Moonlight Murders.
Yeah.
But in real life, I could be wrong on this. I'm going off the top of my head, but I think it was back in the 40s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy in real life who wore a burlap sack over his head and killed people
Yeah.
in this town in much like a similar way as Jason might. So, interesting little side note.
There you go.
The movie opens with, or the first real scenes in the movie are Jason killing these shop owners.
Yes. Oh, yes. I remember now.
Who are just...
They're the worst.
Yeah, but that's a trend that we're going to see in many Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah.
There's, maybe the main female is likable. Maybe her love interest is likable. But that's about it.
Yeah. Everyone else pretty much sucks.
They're terrible. There might be a nerdy girl who's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or JJ the rock star.
Or I was going to say
in
the
Part 8.
rocker girl.
Yeah, she lasted about 2 seconds though.
Oh.
but she had some nice things to say, but she was gone. Anyway, the shop owners, the husband is just he's constantly eating.
Yeah.
And then there's a rabbit in their store. Yeah. Which I get, like, you know, there's a rabbit eating carrots, okay. But like, this is your store. Like, I don't know. It's just some things you just can't think too hard when you're watching a Friday the 13th movie, I guess.
Yeah.
And his wife is a shrew, of course.
Yeah.
But they both get it. Then we are shown Chris, who is going to be the heroine of the movie.
Right. And
the first time we see her, she is in her van, which is actually a custom van. It's painted in kind of a funky way with the blue and like orange and yellow stripes. Yep. But then on her driver's side door, she has a little flowery design and her name, Chris.
Wow, I did not
on the van.
I didn't see that at all.
Got to pay attention.
I missed that completely.
And I was like, look at Chris. Then the other thing interesting about her van was that she had like Led Zeppelin, The Doors, and Grateful Dead like bumper stickers. Yeah. On the van. Okay. And then it was carpeted all over. Mm-hmm. Like the walls were carpeted, the back was carpeted. There was no seats in the back. Yeah. This is like a classic stoner's van. Right. But Chris isn't really presented that way throughout the movie. No. So I thought that was kind of funny that she had this custom van tricked out to be like the ultimate stoner van.
And that really wasn't her.
It did help out, though, because in the back of her van, we do find hippies, like old hippies.
Yeah, the stoners.
Yeah. They think the van's on fire, so they go running out and they open it, and it's just these two getting high. Yeah. But the thing is, they look considerably older.
They do, but I mean, honestly, they're probably not. They're probably in their 20s, but they do look older.
Yeah, maybe just the beard.
Yeah.
Throws it off.
Yeah.
Then we meet Rick, of course, who is the love interest.
Okay.
And again, everybody is terrible, this time including the love interest. Because, like, everything he says is, like, some horrible sexist...
Yeah. Like why aren't you giving me any...
Why aren't you just putting it out already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. I remember him. And he has a VW bug.
That's true. Now let's talk about Shelly.
Shelly. Oh, Shelly.
What are your thoughts on Shelly?
I like Shelly, even though he was a jokester. And people were really annoyed by him. But he was so cute with his curly hair.
I think that Shelly is an asshole, and I was glad when he died.
Tell me how you really feel.
Well, the thing about Shelly is, I get what you're saying.
I think he just wanted to fit in and he wanted to have friends.
Yes, but even when people flat out told him, like, this is not how you do it.
Yeah.
He was like, it's the only way I can.
Aww.
But it's not even working. Like, no one thinks you're funny. Not one person has been like, oh, Shelly, you got us good. Like, oh, that was so funny. They're just like, fuck you, Shelly. You're an asshole.
Yeah, they are.
So that's the only thing that works for him. And it doesn't work.
I have sympathy for Shelly.
But I do like the story of the actor that plays Shelly.
Well, I don't know the story.
Well, let me tell you.
Okay.
He was not an actor.
Okay.
He was a guy handing out flyers for the new Mad Max movie.
Oh.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the producers or whoever of Friday the 13th saw him and were like, this guy is a very unusual looking person because he was kind of a short, chubby guy with kind of a funny looking face and a big afro. White guy with a big afro.
My dream.
Yeah.
My dream guy.
Yeah. So, you know, he's not like a bad looking guy. He just kind of had like a goofy looking face.
Yeah, he was definitely goofy looking for sure. Yeah.
He looks like someone who would be Shelly, I guess. And I guess that's what the producers thought too, because they said, hey, do you want to be in a movie? And apparently, you know, Friday the 13th, it doesn't matter.
No.
What your level of skill is. So, and actually, he puts in a you know, maybe not the most professional performance, but a fine performance.
Yeah.
He went on in his life to become an entertainment lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Which is what he's doing now.
All right. I can see that.
Here's an interesting little side note. Recently, well, within the past 20 years, I mean, he represented George Lust in court. I'm sorry,
And
George Lusk in court.
who's George Lusk?
He is the owner, was the owner, and the main character in Poltergeist in real life.
Okay.
So they made the movie Poltergeist based on the book by the Warrens, Garbage People Hall of Famers.
Oh,
soon to
I
be.
know the Warrens. Okay.
And it was based on his story of living in this house, and he called the Warrens in to investigate, blah, blah, blah. And
Oh. Well, I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm sorry, I said Poltergeist. I meant Amityville Horror.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking of Poltergeist because it came out the same year as Friday the 13th Part 3. I had just read that. It was the #1 grossing horror movie
I see.
the year, so that's why it was on my mind. But I totally meant...
Amityville.
I sound like an idiot on this episode.
Oh my God.
I've
Do you
screwed up
not
so
know?
many things already.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
understand.
definitely like a poser, I guess.
Oh, no, you're not.
I've done over 100 episodes about spooky stuff. Maybe I don't know everything about everything, but come on.
All right, get your facts straight.
So anyway, yes, Amityville Horror is what I meant to say.
Okay, so he represented it.
So yeah, he represented it. So what happened? So in real life,
Yes.
they had said, "Hey, our house is haunted." The Warrens came in to investigate. They wrote a bullshit book.
Okay, yeah.
Even the Lusks say that the book was like largely fictional, and the Warrens kind of blah blah blah. They had a falling out over it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they made the movie, and everybody was like making money, so they were kind of okay. Then I believe in 2005 or so, they made a remake
Mm-hmm.
with Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah.
and apparently, the world, not just Mr. Lusk, but the world wasn't happy with it because it got bad reviews and everything. And then Mr. Lusk sued the movie studio for making a bad movie.
Okay.
And guess who represented him in that trial?
Shelly.
That's right.
Well,
The
what's his
same
real name?
actor, Larry Zerner.
Okay, thank you.
That's his name. But that's what he's up to now.
Well, that's good. Good for him.
By the way, I looked to see like what was the outcome of that lawsuit, but apparently George died while the suit was ongoing. So
It's done.
yeah, I guess so. That's all I could find about it anyway.
I mean, can you really sue for a bad movie?
I guess if they use your real name in it, there might be something to. I don't know. We gotta call Larry.
That's right.
Find out. He would be a good guest, actually. I'd like to talk to him, but he's probably too busy lawyering and all.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my relationship with the Shelly character is a little complicated because I do get what you're saying, and there is some sympathy to be drawn for him, but I think they just make him... I think if there had been some scenes where he was, like, funny and more than just, like, some of the guys laughed at his pranks or whatever. And also his pranks were mostly, like, trying to, like, scare people.
Scare people, exactly.
Maybe if he had done some, like, actual, like, funny stuff, then that would be different.
Okay, yeah.
But no such luck.
No.
So he gets killed. But the main thing is he gets killed, and he leaves behind his hockey
mask.
And this is where Jason gets the famous hockey mask that would become his trademark.
Mm-hmm.
So we do at least have Shelly to thank
That's right.
for that. Another thing that I love about Friday the 13th Part 3
Mm-hmm.
is the biker gang.
Oh, yeah, the random biker gang.
Yeah, Shelly and the like woman that he's trying to mac on. She's actually been brought at, like as a date for Shelly, which that woman must hate her friend.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't a good setup.
Although she says she likes him later in the movie, and I was like, why? Why would you? Because she was like, I do like you, but not for these reasons. Like, not because you're such a jokester. And I was like, no, there's no reason you would like him. That's all he's done the whole movie. There's no reason you would like him.
Okay.
So anyway, Shelly gets me. But they go into town to go to the
Yes.
convenience store,
Right.
and they run into a biker gang in the convenience store.
Right.
It's a... Yeah?
Go ahead.
We don't learn the name of the gang because it looks like they're all wearing different vests. So maybe they're not a gang per se. Maybe they're just bikers, or maybe they're from different gangs, but they are just chilling on a... I guess this would be a Sunday.
Some hoodlums.
Yeah. There is, of course, Loco.
Loco. Mm-hmm.
Loco's the white guy. Then there's What are you laughing about? It's nice. It's a interracial gang.
What? Loco is the white guy?
I didn't name him. I'm just telling you.
Okay.
Maybe he's got some Hispanic origin, or maybe he just liked the nickname.
Okay. Continue.
Then there's Fox.
Yes.
Who I don't know what her ethnicity is, but she
looks African American to me.
You think so?
Yeah.
She could be a Latina of some stripe.
Sure.
She could be Dominican.
She could be.
Anyway, she's in there too. We're going to talk more about her in a moment. But of course, we have to mention Ali.
Ali.
The presumed leader, because he says things and the others kind of do it.
Right, exactly.
But they get into a little skirmish with this biker gang in the convenience store, but they kind of smooth it over. Then outside, he accidentally, I forget who's driving at the time.
Shelly
Was driving?
Yeah.
Accidentally backs into the bikers' bikes and knocks them all over.
Yep.
And Ali's out there and he's,
mad as hell.
Yeah. So a whole thing breaks out. And the point is they follow him back to the camp. They figure out that's where the kids are.
Yeah.
And they're doing all these things. They're going to mess with them. And of course they run into Jason, and one by one they're slaughtered, or are they? But they appear to be. But the interesting thing I want to point out here that I want people to watch for next time they watch the movie. Fox goes into a barn.
Yeah.
And she is looking around with this look on her face. Like she just can't believe what she's seeing, like she's in heaven. And what she's looking at is like old farming equipment.
Old, crappy, equipment that hasn't been used in 30 years.
Yeah.
But she is loving it. But maybe she'd never been in a barn before.
Maybe she's just super into antiquing, and old farm equipment is just like her thing.
Look at this gold mine I've got.
Like so much so she goes to the side and starts like banging on things like drums, and like this is like a scene in the movie for no reason. She's just walking around like touching things and banging things and smiling and
loving life.
Yeah, of course she runs into Jason, and that part she doesn't love as much.
Yeah, no.
But oh well, that's the story of Fox. But please, again, just be on the lookout for that scene next time you watch the movie. Next we have I want to talk about Debbie.
Which one was Debbie again?
The pregnant one.
Oh my God, I forgot.
For absolutely no reason, Debbie is pregnant in this movie. Debbie's one of the campers. They're not really camping, but
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Not showing or anything. So probably maybe a month or two pregnant.
No idea, but yeah, not showing.
Yeah,
she wears a bikini in the movie, and there's no baby bump.
Exactly, no baby bump, but still, they made her pregnant for whatever reason. Not necessary.
I guess just to make it more like, oh, she was pregnant. But she also wasn't a particularly likable character.
Well, I mean,
She wasn't as bad
her.
as like the others, but
yeah, no.
She just came in and they were like, oh, sex, blah blah blah. Yeah. And then she put on her bikini and everything. But I will say, she's a rather attractive woman. She does kind of have 80s hair, but even for 80s hair, it looks pretty good.
Well, it was the 80s.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
And she's reading Fangoria magazine. Which is like a horror movie magazine.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm saying.
She's pretty cool?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd give her a shot.
The pregnant lady?
Yeah. Also, I'll mention this in passing. In the magazine that she's reading, there's an article about Tom Savini, which is like a little nod to Tom Savini because he was the makeup artist on the original Friday the 13th.
Oh, cool.
So he designed the look of the original boy Jason in the wake, and he did the special effects murders and all that. Kevin Bacon getting stabbed through the neck and all.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, we see Jason for the first time with the hockey mask. When he comes out with a harpoon. And he shoots the poor lady, Shelly's date, in the eye.
That's right. Yeah.
And, of course, again, in 3D,
right,
the harpoon is coming out at you.
Right.
And we noticed as we were watching these movies, the harpoon is a very reoccurring thing.
Everybody's got a harpoon.
Yeah, in the Friday the 13th movies. I don't think I've ever... I mean, granted, I'm not a big fishing guy, and I'm not a big, boatsman, But my uncle fished and had a boat, and, I don't think I've ever seen a harpoon in real life.
No, it seems like an old school kind of fishing tool, unless people still use it, but I don't
And
know
especially,
anything.
like, they were on a lake. It's not even like they were, like, deep sea fishing. I don't know about fishing. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know
even
about
bother
it.
writing in. I don't really care that much about... I was going to say, go ahead and write in if you know more. And then I was like, no, don't. I don't really care. I mean, it's fine, but not for me. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. That's his first kill in The Mask, but also kind of a fun kill in general. And also, we have the guy who gets split down the middle.
Ooh, yeah. That was the pregnant lady's boy.
Yeah, he's doing a handstand. He's walking around on his hands for quite a time, actually.
Yeah, he was very nimble.
Yeah. But
he had just done it with his pregnant girlfriend.
Yeah. But then Jason comes in and hacks him right down the middle, and you see it because they shot it through like a clear floor, I guess. So you see him getting cut right down the middle. And this movie actually was going to be rated X.
Really?
Yeah, they wouldn't the movie board or whatever wouldn't allow the movie to go out as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, apparently there's a Dutch version of the VHS that has like the real scenes, but it's never been released in the USA, the actual director's cut of the film. So that'd be interesting to see. As I said, at the end of the movie, we find out that one of the bikers did actually survive.
Oh, yes.
Ali comes back.
Yeah.
It's down to Jason versus Chris, who's going to end up being the sole survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And Ali pops out to make the least successful attempt at killing Jason. Or I was going to say Ali made a very unsuccessful attempt to save Chris.
Yeah.
But I guess he did, because she did survive. So I guess he sacrificed himself. But he full on gets his arm cut off.
Yeah, no. He just ran out of the barn.
He just bleeds out.
That was it.
Yeah.
He was like, Jason wasn't having it.
So then Chris comes back with an axe.
Yep.
Which she uses on Jason's head.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is important because that axe wound has kind of stayed with Jason the entire run.
Right.
Most of the movies you'll notice that there is a crack in the mask in the upper corner, and that, well, not corner, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that is supposed to be the axe wound.
Right.
That Chrissy left in part 3.
Yep.
So that's an interesting thing to note.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so Chrissy is the final survivor in this movie.
Yep.
This is the last time, so far anyway, that we have had only one female survivor in a Friday the 13th movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's known for it. Like, that's what Friday the 13th movies are known for, like the lone surviving female. Horror movies in general, I guess, but especially Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
But really, up in part 3, that was the last time they had the sole surviving female.
Interesting.
And of course, in part 7, Tina and Nick go in their little honeymoon ambulance together, side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice one. So why do I like part 3? Well, those are some of the little things you can look out for. But like I said, there's zanier things that happen if that's what you're into, like in part 4 and 5. I'm thinking about the ooh baby scene.
Oh, love it. Pooping and singing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in other movies. We'll talk about them other times.
Yeah.
The endings are way more bizarre and / cheesier in other movies.
Yeah.
Jason is scarier in other movies.
Mm-hmm.
But part 3, to me, why I like it, again, maybe not my favorite, because the story isn't the best. There's really not much of a story. Kids go to camp, kids start getting killed. That's it, basically. Right? That's the story of every Friday the 13th.
I know.
But what I like about it is that it's so basic. Like, this is a Friday the 13th movie. There's nothing in there about, like, his backstory, aside from, his mom or whatever in a flashback. But they don't even get into that. Like, they don't even mention that his name is Jason.
Yeah.
No one in the thing says Jason is here. You got to look out. No one in the only in the flashbacks.
That's true.
It's just a guy running around killing kids.
People. Yeah.
So, and he's got the hockey mask, which is different than part 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things I like about part 2 story-wise. Also, I think Ginny is very cute, but I just like part 3 because like that is to me a basic, not over the top, not overly done Friday the 13th movie.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from the 3D, there's not like a stupid gimmick,
right?
Like the big disappointment with Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh boy.
Where he's on a boat or in one back alley.
Yeah.
For most of the movie, and there's like 2 seconds of him in Times Square. You know, so that's what I like about it.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts
on 3?
Yeah, as compared to the other films, or just in general.
Yeah, no, I liked 3. I thought it was good. It definitely, the endings of the other movies are like as they go on are getting real ridiculous. But I did like 3. That was a good one. But I do like the ooh baby scene.
Yeah.
That's in 4?
It's 4 or 5. I don't remember exactly which one.
I feel like they're all kind of melding together now.
I think it's 5. Yeah, it's 5.
5. Okay.
Because it's older Tommy, right?
That's right. It is older Tommy.
He meets him in the psych thing, which just happens to be on Crystal Lake.
I know. Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, come on, y'all. There was the one movie where they changed the name, but it's still the same place. It's still Crystal Lake.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like different camps around the lake, but even so,
so many people are dying, have died.
You would think.
Why would you even go? Let's take this. Nobody go there. Nobody live there. Nobody build a house there. Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, what you gonna do?
Then you wouldn't have a movie, I guess.
This is true.
Well, I guess that about does it for Friday the 13th Part 3. Like I said, not really a review so much, but just kind of a couple things to point out or whatever.
Right.
It was supposed to come out on Friday the 13th, so we're a little bit late on that. Maybe not quite as timely as we could have been, but Friday the 13th will come again. I think we have one in July.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you look ahead?
No, but it said, I typed in Friday the 13th, and I think like Google said like July, 2018.
Cool.
But anyway, so that wraps it up here. Once again, I want to remind you to check out the website, spookyas.com. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at spookyasshit. And find us on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyas. Please remember to share the show with friends that you think might enjoy it. And don't forget to leave those wonderful 5-star reviews on iTunes or Stitcher or iHeartRadio or wherever else you might listen, however they might let you rate or critique anything. If you have any comments, suggestions, show ideas, write to me at spookyasshit@gmail.com. Thank you very much, Fatima, for being here and
thanks for having me.
Watching some scary movies with me.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time.